Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Odin Sphere on PlayStation 2. I really was trying to get this game completed and review done before June 7th, 2016 when the remastered version of this, titled Odin Sphere Leifthrasir, was released, but due to, you know, life, I didn't quite make it. This original PS2 version was released in the US on May 22nd, 2007, and was developer Vanillaware's first title. They went on to make Grim Grimoire for PS2, Muramasa, the Demon Blade for Wii, and later Vita, and Dragon's Crown on PlayStation 3 and Vita. All of their games featuring hand-drawn 2D sprites, drawn in a way very reminiscent of 70s high fantasy. Odin Sphere has a story that spans 5 characters, each different in background and playstyle, but the one thing they have in common is that they each bear a weapon that holds a cipher, a gem with special properties made from the device known as the Cauldron. You begin with each character by picking up their respective book as the little girl Alice and sitting down and reading it. The stages are composed of a prologue, 6 chapters, and an epilogue. You must play through each character sequentially, but you can revisit previous ones that have been completed at any point, which comes into play later. You begin with each character at level 1, advancing their weapon power, HP, and spell option, whose unlock order is unique each time. All characters eventually have a singular goal, and that is doing what they can to stop the world from ending, according to the prophecies. There are several villainous entities working in cahoots to orchestrate said destruction. The way Odin Sphere's story is crafted, though, is truly a work of art. Each of the playable characters encounters nearly every other one at various points, sometimes even serving as a boss fight of a chapter. They just do a great job of teaching you secrets about a character from another character's point of view after having already played through them. It's going to be hard to do a review or show gameplay video without featuring all the playable characters, but it's not really a spoiler because the idle cinematic that begins from the start screen shows them all. Just want to make that clear. So the gameplay itself, while technically classified as an action RPG, feels like a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Enemies have life bars, and you have combos and a small set of moves you can perform to deplete them. Also take notice of the bar labeled POW up there that depletes with each move, making you balance out your aggressive attack with moments of rest. One unique thing you might notice is the zoomed out map in the upper right corner of the screen. Vanillaware pretty typically uses abnormally large-scaled sprites in their games, and to compensate for the lack of visibility, you can look up and see when projectiles are coming your way or when an enemy is getting near you. The range of enemy AI is fairly vast, from the simplest fairy soldiers that charge at you, to Valkyries that try to get an upper ground, to wizards that require hitting the conjured sword back at them to stun them to give you time to do damage. As you enter the battle act of each chapter, you're started on one screen, represented from the map screen as a circle. Moving to the right moves you clockwise and left counterclockwise, and you will continually loop around that map while running in the same direction. Each circle has 1 to 4 exit points, allowing you to navigate around with the ultimate goal of finding the boss. There are also 2 mini-boss rooms per stage, and the rest are filled with troops that show you a difficulty rating from 1 star to 5. You're rated on your screen clearing ability, both by time and by damage taken. You are awarded treasure after clearing each screen, with a perfect score, granting an S ranking, with lots of extra treasure given, all the way down to a D, which often just delivers the item the map promises. Now the game does suffer just a bit from replaying some of the same areas and bosses as each character ventures around the world with their own purpose, and while in each area, you do fight the same enemies you did with characters before. But the challenge is there. You can't just button mash your way through everything, as enemies will block or counter-strike, or sometimes, like those mean old teddy bears, they won't even be stunned by your effort to stop them. So replaying gives you time to get your strategies honed for each of the following encounters. So overall, the game appears fairly simple, right? So let's talk about where it gets some depth. Upon killing enemies, they turn into small pink floaty things called phosons, the source of all life. Your ciphers can absorb these phosons, and the meter on the left side of the upper left will fill up, granting new weapon levels for increased damage, as well as unlocking spells. They also serve as MP or magic points, which are used to cast said spells. The alternative to absorption is to plant seeds, like mulberry, muggle, napple, and so on. Each seed takes a specific number of phosons to grow and bear fruit. When fruit is consumed, it gives you health experience points, filling up the bar on the right side of the upper left. At first, the fruit will help you advance HP levels fairly quickly, but once the required amount gets large enough, you end up saving some of the fruit to take back to the cafe, and using recipes that you pick up as rewards in maps to create meals. Fruit is also good for alchemy. Yeah, let's talk about that now. After you get a few chapters into the first character, Gwendolyn, you begin to find alchemy recipes to make potions. You also find materials which often start with a 0 tag on a glass bottle. In order to make a potion, you take a material with a number on it and combine it with a mandragora. Mandragoras are found by listening for squeaks as you run through a screen. You can jump on that spot, and an onion, turney, habaneristo, cubsbane, or carroteer will emerge, which you can then run after and slaughter. The ones place of the material, combined with one of the 5 mandragoras, will produce the potion. The tens place gives increasing amounts of phosons upon the alchemical combination. So for example, a 0 in the ones place combined with an onion produces an antidote. A 0 in the ones place with a carroteer makes a healing potion. By adding non-mandragora things to the material, you increase its number by varying degrees. Combining 2 materials together gives you a material with a multiplicative result, while combining with an existing potion will simply double the number. So, for example, if you apply a seed to a material with the 0, you get a 1. Mulberries are worth 5 points, which would increase a 1 to a 6. Meat bones from consumed meat are worth 3. That'll take the 6 to 9. Combine a 9 material with a 10 material, and all of a sudden you have a 90. Add a carroteer to that 90, and you get a set of 3 health potions and a whole lot of phosons. So again, the way you level up really comes into play. Do you want to give 5 phosons to a mulberry seed, you get 2 mulberries to boost a potion up to 90, or just absorb them yourself. The choice is always yours. One other neat thing about the alchemy recipes is, for simplicity's sake, each potion starts with a different letter of the alphabet, allowing them to put a single letter on the tag of the bottle, and you instantly know what it is. Quick growth and extra phosons with an X, for those of you that were curious about the difficult letters. These same mandragoras are also used in the aforementioned food combinations in the Puka village. Let's talk about that for a second. Actually, first let's talk about load times. Cripes. When a game discourages you from participating in an action due to the amount of time it takes to load said action, you have a flaw in your design. Opened up decently far into the first story is the Puka village, cursed people that look like rabbits. While in one of the social acts, or sometimes in the shop circle of a battle map, is a blue teleporter that will take you there. Once arrived, you have a choice of 2 restaurants, one on the left, one on the right, each serving a different menu requiring different ingredients. Then you have the load time of the restaurant and sitting through the dialogue. Then you leave the restaurant, you have a load time to get back to the Puka village, then another load time to return you back through the blue portal. Odin forbid you go to the wrong restaurant for not remembering which of the game's 50 recipes are in which restaurant, and you have the loading time in and out of that one as well. Granted, you can go to the text screen of the pause menu and see the recipes ahead of time, but when your inventory is kept in up to 6 bags of 8 slots each, keeping it organized and flipping back and forth to see what you want to eat just gets time consuming. Another unique side of the game, though, is the monetary system. The game features several warring countries, and they each actually have their own currency. When buying from vendors, they'll pretty much take anything, but meals at restaurants require chosen ingredients and a specific coin, which again is helpful to browse through the menus as it shows an X around the things you don't have and a circle where you do. Along the same lines as load times, though, is the single biggest complaint about Odin Sphere on PlayStation 2. This game features the most crippling slowdown I have ever seen in my life. I look back to the NES days, and sure, when there were a bunch of enemies on screen shooting projectiles, you'd get a second or two where the graphic refresh was having trouble keeping up with the code of the game loop. Odin Sphere has entire maps and boss fights like this. I wish I had a frame rate counter on some of these because I swear it got down to a frame a second at some points. The worst is Netherworld, where it seems like the background animations tied in with the non-combat torchbearers cause just a little slowdown, but then you bring up your map and try to navigate at the same time and it just destroys it. Honestly, don't know how anyone would have been comfortable with a release like this. But the good news is, the research I've done on the PlayStation 4 remastered version, Leifthrasir, they've removed all of these technical issues. I mean, the game was just ahead of its time, right? The worst part about the slowdown, though, is getting your buttons to register. In the times where there are that many projectiles on screen, you really need your controls to be precise. You need your attacks to be able to register also, but you don't necessarily want to go in a full-fledged combo. In Gwendolyn's case, she'll fly if you move during a double jump, and there's no way to make her stop. So, if you're like me and have a backlog of PS2 games still that you plan on getting through someday, do yourself a favor and upgrade to the PlayStation 4 version. Honestly, though, this game is entirely worth it. This truly is a gem of storytelling. Without giving anything away, after you finish each character's book, there's a final book where you choose the order of characters you want to fight each chapter. To get the good ending, you have to solve the cryptic prophecy and figure out who is supposed to do what. When I completed the game, I was happy with my ending, but I did notice the last star in my save file didn't fill up as it had as I completed each book. It looks like you can replay the final book a few times in a few different ways to see other results. I don't believe that the save file timer truly counted every minute I played. For example, replaying bosses didn't add to it. And I was just a touch over 40 hours upon completion, so I was ready to move on. The dialogue is beautifully written in this game though, and I challenge you not to feel for a character, if not each and every one you control, as they find love and betrayal as it all weaves into one masterful story. Now, I will say this game's probably not for everyone, but if you like action RPGs and a good story to go with it, then this game is definitely for you. While there were a few frustratingly difficult encounters, overall I had a ton of fun working through Odin Sphere. Classified as an action RPG, it hits an 84 out of 100 on my scale. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. I try and play it all, from classics to new releases. If you're curious about what I'm playing next, feel free to tap that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter @Umbra Games.